So, doing something a little bit different. I know people's been saying that they missed the historical videos and they wanted the historical videos to come back. As you know, I'm still having issues with the car. Been trying to get that worked out. But I'm going to try something that I usually don't. Now, this is a historical video. It borders somewhat on conspiracy, but it does have evidence to back up some of the claims. But I'm going to provide some pictures during this video, some as reference pictures, and some are actually from the subject that I'm referring to. April 5th, 1909, there was an article printed out by the Arizona Gazette, I believe was the name of it. And it talked about a explorer slash photographer named G.E. Kinkaid that was hired by the Smithsonian Institute. He was looking for minerals. At that point in time, minerals usually referred to gold. He was traveling down the Colorado. I believe he either started in Utah or ended in Utah, and traveled through Colorado and Arizona. The Smithsonian paid him, or financially backed him, to look for minerals during his travels in the upper valley of the Grand Canyon. He thought that he seen deposits that would signify mineral deposits. So he pulled over his boat, hopped up on the shore. I believe it was, he said it was 100 foot above the Colorado. He came upon a cave. Now in this cave, he said that he could tell it was a man-made cave. He traveled back through the caverns and came upon what he called an underground city. He said in this underground city, he found Egyptian artifacts along with mummies, hieroglyphs, however you pronounce it. And one piece of evidence was a stone tablet that he reportedly brought back out with him as evidence for what he had found. He immediately contacted the Smithsonian, and they sent in another crew of 10 to 20 people to investigate his findings. During this time period, he was so ecstatic about his findings that he contacted the Arizona newspaper and told them the story about what had been found. Since then, mind you, this is back in 1909. Since then, all evidence has been lost. The Smithsonian says that they have no evidence whatsoever of a G.E. Kinkaid ever being employed or contracted out through the Smithsonian. They have no records of any Egyptian relics ever being found in the Grand Canyon. Mind you, back during that time period, all the way up, I believe, until like the 70s or so, Egyptian artifacts were of high value to rich people. And the Smithsonian has a bad track record of keeping tabs on their relics. It could have been that they've lost the relics over time. It could be that the relics have been destroyed to hide the Egyptians ever making it over here to North America. It could have been they have been stolen. I mean, if you look at the stolen part, there has been numerous items stolen actually from Egypt itself that people have come out, their great great grandchildren have come out and said, "Hey, we found this," and my grandpa's or my great grandpa's um, items that he left behind, and some of them were Egyptian artifacts that have been lost in time. I'm not saying that this is what happened. Take everything with a grain of salt, and you try to cipher out the truth in everything. There, for the longest time, they try to say that the Egyptians weren't a seafaring civilization. But then, I believe it was in the 70s. I may be mistaken. It may be even older than that, maybe the 30s or 40s. They found Egyptian hieroglyphs in Australia. It was New South Wales. I can't remember the exact name of the town, but they found Egyptian hieroglyphs along with Aboriginal hieroglyphs. And some of the Aborigines actually have oral stories passed down from their ancestors that talk about them coming in contact with the Egyptians and setting up trade with the Egyptians. So there is evidence that the Egyptians were a seafaring race or a seafaring civilization. If you look at history here in North America, or even the North American continent period, we're starting to find every day that there's evidence that the Chinese were here before any of the English or Spanish. There's evidence that the Vikings had found the continent of North America before anybody else discovered it. And I don't know why this subject is so taboo that a lot of people scuff their nose at it. And it's like if anybody says that another civilization may have made it here before Christopher Columbus, then that notion gets scuffed out. Now, in our history, we knew that there was tribes of Indians all over North America. We're starting to find evidence every day that the Incans have actually made their way into places like California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and worked their way north. But we don't know who was here before those civilizations. And it's like any evidence that we have found has been covered up over time. Now, I'm not saying that there is some great government conspiracy to hide any civilization that was here beforehand, but I think our history is valuable no matter what it is, no matter who was here, no matter what dark secrets we find. History is history. As I always say, knowledge is power. I think it would be wonderful if we found out that the Egyptians had actually made it over here to North America before any other civilization and actually set up a community in the Grand Canyon. Back on that subject, that northern part of the Grand Canyon is actually off limits. There's been reports of black helicopters flying all around that area. It's essentially a no-go zone. There has been some archaeologists, uh, even some photographers and stuff that have made their way through the Grand Canyon. But when it comes to that section of the Grand Canyon, it's strictly taboo, strictly off limits. Now, people say that G.E. Kinkaid never existed. Back in those times, the newspapers got the spellings of people's names incorrect. So they would often spell it how they thought it would be spelled. There is reports from Utah about that same time period that talk about a Kinkaid, and they refer to him as a photographer. So there is multiple newspaper articles about this guy. Whether or not they all refer to the same Kinkaid, we may never know. I mean, we're talking about something that was what, 112 years ago. But I'm gonna leave it at that. If you like this type of video, make sure you smack that like button to let me know, and I will do more videos like this. But thank you all for your time. I hope you enjoy the video. As always, remember, knowledge is power. Never limit yourself. Stay safe and keep exploring. I will see you next Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.